Welcome, welcome one and all. Winter Wizard here. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my favourite Warhammer 40K YouTubers. For joining me today, whoever you are, and welcome to this little video of mine where I'm going to be sharing with you my favourite Warhammer 40K YouTubers. Yes, we're here, we're in the Frozen Fortress, it's cold and lonely, but I've got a nice cup of tea over there, Terran Gold, and I'm joined as always by my comrade and co-host, Norwegian Troll Dimmu, and we're feeling festive. As you can see, Dimmu's got his Christmas hat on, because it is, as a matter of fact, the season of Christmas here at the moment. So just for a little bit of a one-off treat, as compared to the usual content that I put out on this channel, I thought I'd do something a little bit different, and I thought I'd share a little more information about myself. I thought I'd tell you a little bit more about me, a little bit more about my hobby, by sharing with you my favourite YouTube channels to watch, my favourite content creators in the world of 40k on the platform of YouTube. So that's what we're going to be doing today. But that's what we're going to be doing, just going to be having a nice little chat, and we're going to dive straight into this now. So what I've done is I've split up, I've split these channels into sort of various categories. So there's one of the beautiful things about this hobby is that there's so many different aspects to it, whether it's the painting, the building, whether it's the lore or the battle reports or anything like that. So I've got a number of channels I wanted to talk about, and so what I've done is I've split them all up into various different categories. So we're going to dive straight into this now. Enough waffling. We're going to begin with the category of battle reports. So I'm sure many of you enjoy watching a good battle report out there, and there are absolutely countless content creators who are creating these things. But for me, it all comes down to what I like to refer to as the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity of battle report creators, and for me, they are Striking Scorpion 82, Winter's SEO, and Tabletop Tactics. That's right. So, all hail the Brits, you know. So, yeah, Striking Scorpion, Winters, Tabletop Tactics. These are my three favorite channels. And if I'm going to watch a battle report, it's most certainly going to be from one of these creators here. So, let me talk about them a little bit in depth. So back in 2018, when I was actually getting into this hobby, but when I was actually getting back into the hobby of 40k, I discovered the wonderful world of YouTube, and the mini world of 40k within the YouTube world, and it was the channel that I was introduced to by my dear brother, the Major, was Striking Scorpion 82, because he got back into the hobby as well with me, and he started watching a bunch of YouTube, and he found this channel, Striking Scorpion 82, and he sent it over to me, and that was it really. That's how I got introduced. I got introduced to the world of Warhammer 40k on YouTube through Mr. Luke Barker of Striking Scorpion 82, and so I've always been a big fan of Luke. Really love his battle reports. He puts an absolute amazing amount of work into sort of his tables. He's got a huge swath of armies, which he collects and builds and plays and paints all by himself. You can't talk about Striking Scorpion 82 without mentioning Mr. JB Wargamer 87, James Barker, who's become a dear friend. Absolutely huge fan of James as well. He does battle reports too, but James spends a lot of time on Striking Scorpion 82 as well. So it's kind of like Luke and James together, that dastardly duo that they are. But yeah, as I was saying, Luke's got an enormous number of armies. I think his paint jobs are absolutely fantastic. What I really like about Luke though is his attitude towards the hobby. Luke approaches his battle reports and his games from a sort of semi-competitive, semi-narrative kind of balance. So, and this is kind of where I picked up my sort of attitude, I think, to collecting this hobby, because whenever I try and build an army or build a collection or build a faction, I always like to do my own personal take on it and create my own narrative and stuff for it. But the thing that I think was probably quite inspired by Luke was the fact that I like to build a sort of a nice balanced themed army. I don't really go down the sort of hyper competitive sort of list building route, but I also don't go for the, you know, purely fluffy, purely narrative side of things as well, you know, in keeping with the official narrative is what I'm trying to say. So I like to create a nice mix of a balance of the two. I like to build an army that's got my own theme and my own strong idea about it, with models that I really like, with units that I enjoy playing with, whilst also trying to create a list that's got teeth, you know, that's that can be strong and that can stand up for itself, that can win games and win wars. And the sort of the balance of the two is the real sort of that's my real favourite sort of nut to crack, if you like, in the gaming world. And Luke was a big inspiration of that, because I think that's very much his sort of style as well. That sort of semi-competitive, you know, the sort of balance between narrative and competitive, sort of the casually competitive down the middle type approach that he has. And so a big fan of his style there. Always really like the way he films as well, and again his table work is really wonderful. And when he turns his hand to things like apocalypse games, absolutely love that as well. You know, the guy can really punch out an amazing apocalyptic experience with a nice little narrative behind it as well. Yeah, so top marks to Striking Scorpion, one of my absolute favourites. So next up in the Holy Trinity, of course, is Winters SEO. Mr. Winters, an absolute gentleman he is, and a wonderful content creator. Just I love his purely human, humble approach to making his videos. You know, because there's many a channel out there where they go seriously to town on the production value, and it's very all big and cinematic, which is wonderful. And yet Winters gets away with doing just a middle-aged man with a hat and a camera phone, you know, in the spare bedroom of his house, and that's enough. And he does an amazing job. And of course, you can't talk about Winters without mentioning his love for the narrative of it all. So Winters, I really love his narrative approach to the game. I really love his ability to be able to just conjure up a story as he's narrating the game. I really love his ability to create a thematic story right from the setup of the table to the two arms. You know, what Winters has said himself is that he'll think about what army he wants to play, and he'll think about what army he's going to be fighting against, and he'll try and weave a narrative on the table, you know, from the setup to the story of why the armies are fighting, to every dice roll in the game. You know, it's not that you're just rolling badly, you know, it's not that you're just rolling loads of ones, it's that the guns are jamming, or it's that, you know, there's something's interfering with the comm system, the communications down, or, you know, there's so many, you know, every dice roll is a part of the story. And I love that. I love that approach. So I absolutely love Winters' work. So I love his narrative approach, and the guy can absolutely bring his competitive side. He can absolutely switch that on as well if he wants to. So I just think the guy's really good at the game, and I like hearing him talk about it, and I love watching him play. So Winters SEO. And next up, the final piece of the Holy Trinity is Tabletop Tactics. The guys in Bath, absolutely love, big fan of Lawrence, really love Lawrence Baker, really love all the guys in Tabletops, whether it's Beard or it's Chef or it's Jinx, and they're all absolutely wonderful people. They just seem, well, I mean, I've never met them. Hopefully one day maybe I'll get to, but they're, it's just, saying that, what I think really brings people back to YouTube content it's not necessarily always the content, but it's the people, you know, and that's one of the things that keeps me coming back to Tabletop Tactics is just there's a certain sense of comfort when those people are on my screen. You know, YouTube is YouTube and content and this kind of hobby, you know, it is a sanctuary for people when you're having a dark day, or you're having a bad time, or you don't feel very well in your mind, or or physically not very well, or you know, things just aren't going your way in life. You're a bit bummed down. It's things like YouTube which lift people up and keep them. It's medicine, you know, and it keeps people happy. And it yes, sure, it's escapism, but it's so much more than just that. And a big part of that is the people. You know, you become kind of not really attached, but you become. You develop a love for these people, don't you? And as soon as they pop up on your screen, you suddenly just feel warm about it. And the Tabletop Tactics people, they really do that for me. They're just such lovely people to watch, to play the game, and then for the battle reports content itself, I mean, their content creating is really good. It's like, I mean, it's top tier stuff. Their production value of the camera work and all the editing and stuff is absolutely brilliant. You know, top tier stuff. They're very funny as well, especially with like the things that they do with like the little edits and stuff during their videos. They can be very entertaining and very funny. Really like their approach as well. They're all about they can go very narrative, they can go very competitive. So if I am feeling like if I'm feeling a little bit more competitive, I want to scratch that itch a bit more, I'll definitely find myself going over to Tabletop Tactics for that. And yeah, just the whole thing is just beautifully put together, hosted by some really entertaining and who appear to be really lovely people, and just love the environment of Tabletop Tactics. So there we go. That's the Holy Trinity. That's the Holy Trinity for me. Striking Scorpion 82 with JB Wargamer in there as well. Winter's SEO and Tabletop Tactics. If I want to watch a battle report, it is going to be on one of those channels. But despite calling these the Holy Trinity of battle reports, they don't just do battle reports. Obviously, you know, Winters is big into his narrative. He's got a lot of narrative story videos, so I absolutely love watching those. Luke is very big into his. He really likes doing things like his list analysis stuff. So he'll. So his list development thing, so he'll sit there and compose an army list in front of you. You know, that's something that he's been working on, you know, to bring into his games. So I really like that aspect of Striking Scorpion. Luke's got a lot of Luke and James have both got a lot of painting tutorials as well. So I really love their painting style. I really love their armies. So if I want to watch some painting, I'll probably go there as well. Tabletop Tactics, again, with the list development stuff, with the general sort of game tactica as well, you know, sort of learning about your strategies and how to play the game better. Tabletop Tactics are very big on that too. So they're not just battle reports. So for all those different reasons, they are some of my absolute favorite channels out there. But we're going to take a little journey now and look at some other channels who have a little bit more of a focus on different aspects of the hobby. So let's talk a little bit about Tactica then. Now let's talk a bit about playing the game and maybe a little bit more of the competitive side of the thing, or just trying to improve your own game playing to be the best 40k player that you feel like you wish to aspire to. So I did just mention Tabletop Tactics, Striking Scorpion for their sort of list building and Tactica side of things. But one channel, Tactica orientated, which I probably. Well, it probably isn't unreasonable to say that I watch it pretty much almost every single day, and this is probably down to the fact that this guy probably creates more content than is quite humanly possible. I'm pretty sure he's either, you know, he's either under the thumb of the Inquisition, or he's a servitor or something like that, because the guy makes about he can punch out like 2 or 3 videos every single day, and you probably know who I'm talking about. This is Mr. All Spec Tactics. One of my absolute favourite channels. I love All Spec Tactics. There's the production value of his videos seems to be very minimalistic, but just works really well. Very clean cuts and just simply put together, but does the job fantastically. The guy's got a really great voice for presenting. You know, I just really like the way that he communicates his points in the channel. The guy's very witty as well. He's got a lot of sort of dry undertones of humour. Some of his like he's done like some April Fool's Day videos, and some of those are absolutely hysterical, and he delivers them so well. So Big fan of All Spec Tactics. Really love his approach to creating sort of more competitive focused content. He always makes sure that he mentions, you know, what he thinks about. I mean, if he's talking hyper competitively, he also always mentions that he thinks that the model would be really fun to use, or the rules seem really narrative, or really good, just really great fun. And he always brings a focus to that. He doesn't write something off just because it's not necessarily optimized or competitive. Just think he's got a really great approach to the hobby, and I think his Tactica videos, his advice videos, his sort of analyzing units and videos and stuff like that are all very informative and really interesting to watch. Guy seems to be very big into his sort of math hammer, so if you like your math hammer, All Spec Tactics is probably a really good one to watch. But yeah, massive fan of All Spec Tactics. Really awesome stuff. So that was Tactica. We're going to look at something else now. We're going to be talking a little bit about the sort of the building and painting side of the hobby. So the modelling, the painting. Now, this is something that I do a lot on my channel. It's not the only thing I do, but I think that's the thing that I started with. You know, the very first lot of content that I did on this channel was painting the Drowned Plague, which is a painting series, and I think I sort of developed a bit of. I think people sort of maybe consider me to be a painting channel, which isn't really what I intended. It's more of an all-round hobby channel where me just sharing my hobby in all the different areas. But anyway, so you might. Why am I saying this? Well, you'd probably be forgiven for assuming that I watch a lot of building and painting content on YouTube, and the funny thing is, I actually don't. I actually watch quite few channels who have a focus on only building and painting. Yeah, which is, I suppose, kind of interesting, or maybe it's not interesting at all. But there is, of course, one illustrious gentleman who, how could we ignore? So the one guy who if I am looking for a painting tutorial, I will always check with first, and that is our man Duncan Rhodes. Of course, it is Duncan Rhodes, Painting Academy. What an absolute hero this man is. A true hobby hero, an absolute legend, and just a really great painter, and I just really love his style. Really love his presenting style as well. Guy's just got a real great atmosphere about him, and I love the fact that it's all brushwork as well. I don't have an airbrush. Maybe I will one day. I'm just not overly interested in them at the moment, is all. So I love the fact that Duncan is true to the brush, and so there we go. Duncan Rhodes, Painting Academy. So if we go from building and painting of the models into our next category, which I'm calling, I'm kind of referring to it as sort of general hobbyists. Now these are channels which I consider maybe they don't sort of focus heavily on the gaming side of things, or maybe they're not really battle report creators or that sort of stuff. Sure, they probably play the game, but the channel is more orientated around being a sort of general hobbyist. So maybe they do a lot of the sort of painting and collecting side of things, but with again just a sort of more general outlook on the hobby, a more general being a hobbyist type creators. And again, I know there's quite a lot of them out there. Again, this is not typically a kind of content that I generally go to watch, but there is one particular channel which I do find myself going back to a lot, and that's our dear Uncle Atom. Of Tabletop Minions. Really love this guy. He's got a voice like absolute butter, and could listen to the man for hours. He's very focused on the sort of the new hobbyist as well. He's really great if you're getting into this hobby and you want a lot of tips and tricks for beginners. He's really good with that. But the guy does some really cool videos. He's really funny as well, and really nicely made videos, and he's got a lot of discussion type stuff as well. So really love Uncle Atom of Tabletop Minions. So moving on into our next category, and this is a category I'm simply calling the sort of news side of 40k. And so this is kind of people who deal with the sort of keep us informed on the latest news, the latest gossip, the latest rumours, reactions to the latest things that have dropped, or some discussion related videos as well. So the news side of things. And there's really only one sort of channel that I go to for this kind of content, and that is the chapter master himself. This is chapter master Valrak. So really like Valrak. Again, I don't watch a huge number of this kind of content, but when I do, I like to get it from Valrak. Guy's really entertaining. He's really funny. Production's really great. Seems like a genuine and nice dude, and just really love his excitement for the hobby. The guy absolutely, he just drips and oozes 40k. He loves this hobby, and and that really comes to life when he's talking about it, and that's just really great to see. It's really invigorating, really exciting to see somebody like that. Talking about the hobby that you love. So if you want to get excited about something, or get excited about some latest news and gossip, Valrak, I can't think of a better channel than the chapter master himself. So we're going to step into the final category of this little favourite YouTuber's venture of mine, and this is going to be one of my absolute favourite aspects of the hobby of 40k. This is going to be the lore side of things. So the lore, the narrative, the characters, the races, the places and things, and all of that kind of stuff that surrounds the beautiful, dark, gruesome narrative of 40k. So the people who tackle that kind of thing, there's quite a few of them out there. There's really only two that I would consider to be my favourites. First one, I don't really know what most people think of him. I think he's probably considered to be a bit Marmite. You're either going to love him or you're going to really hate him. But I have to say that I think Major Kill is absolutely fantastic. I really do. The guy is well, he's very well, how do you say this? He's very brash, very on the nose, very unapologetic, and his humour can be very dark. And but I do think he's very funny, and I think he's very clever as well. I think he says everything. He knows exactly what he's saying all the time. I think he's probably quite an intelligent guy. And I think he's fiercely entertaining. I really do. I think he's very funny, and I really like his delivery of the content as well. I like his style of videos. They're not too long, but they're reasonably short. Sorry, they're not too short, but they're not overly long. And he deals some nice informative aspects about whatever category he's talking about at the time, and gives you, I don't know, just like his delivery. You know, you feel like you've learnt something a bit about the whatever the subject that he's discussing is. By the time of the video, you don't feel like it's just been a load of sort of colourful waffle. And there's been a good portion of humour along the way. So yeah, really like Major Kill, really like his style. So for a bit of sort of more, especially if I'm not feeling too good as well, if I'm in a bit of a downer and I need somebody to make me laugh and I need somebody to pick me up a bit, and I want to hear a bit about some 40k lore, Major Kill, great choice. And the very last channel that I'm going to be talking about today, again in the category of lore, and this is not only my favourite lore channel, but this is one of my absolute favourite content creators of anything on the web, I suppose, and that is the lore master himself. That is Lutin09. The guy is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Like, his videos are, you know, these are the sort of like hour long, hour and a half, even 2 hour long videos of his. These are the deep critical dive into any given subject. His production's really cool. I don't know where he finds his music from, but I love some of the music that he puts in his videos. His ability to read and deliver information to you is just, it's so good. His voice he's got a wonderful voice to listen to. I could listen to him for hours. But I love his delivery, I love his analytical thinking, I love his critical thinking, I love the way he, you know, some people complain about his tangents. I'm all up for it. I love his tangents, you know, love his tangents. They all feel necessary, you know, or they all feel really interesting and thorough. just absolutely love his style. I love his approach to bringing the lore to you. If you want to be really immersed in the grim darkness of the far future, I can't think of any better channels than to do it, than to listen to Mr. Luton tell you a story. So when he does go into the sort of sometimes in his long videos, he will actually go into a portion where he will tell you a story. His storytelling ability is really, really good, really, really strong, really, really solid. Absolutely love it. So, yeah, I can't say anything more than that. One of my absolute favourite channels in the 40k world on YouTube itself, Mr. Luton09, the Lore Master himself. What a hero! Yeah, absolutely love him. So there we are then. So those are my favourite 40k content creators on YouTube. Gives you a little bit of an insight into this kind of thing that I enjoy watching, the kind of content creators that I've been inspired by, the ones and the ones that I find myself regularly coming back to. So if I'm going to be watching 40k content on YouTube, it is 9 times out of 10 going to be one of these creators. So I hope you found that kind of interesting. Just like I said, just something totally different today for Christmas. This was considered this a bit of a Christmas special, if you like. So now what I'm going to say is I'm just really interested to hear what you think of my what do you think of my picks? What do you think of the channels that I like? Do you enjoy them yourself? Tell me, who are your favourite content creators on YouTube? Let me know that down in the comments below. I'll always reply to you. But there we go. So if you have enjoyed the video today, then a like and a comment would be very, very much appreciated. And of course, if you'd like to see more of what goes on here inside the Frozen Fortress, then perhaps you'll also consider becoming a subscriber. And once again, whoever you are, thank you very, very much for joining me today. I'm Winter Wizard. That's Dimmu. And for now, keep it frosty.